Yeah, Roger Mogot, welcome to London, and I think we are just having a little chat on TV 786, which is a webcom. But tell me about your visit. You are here for past now 26 hours.
Yeah.
So how did you find London?
Well, as usual, London is lovely. Why wouldn't it? It's been been an intensive day so far, I must say. Meeting a lot of representatives from schools and such.
And what do you think, what is, with your experience, what is the benefit of cooperating in between different nations of Europe? How they can cooperate on culture, education and social issues?
Well, I think we have a lot to learn from each other, of course. And I know at least in my country, a lot of young people strive to go abroad for a year or two to study, and you grow as a person, and you understand more about other countries and other people, and you get more secure.
The education system in Sweden is at the moment quite going through an experiment. Since the free school have come in, how do you see that experiment working in Sweden?
Well, it has its good and it has its bad. The good thing is that we've had a lot of new schools popping up, and the good thing it's a system where anybody can go to a private school if they want to. The bad thing is we have gotten in a quite some not very high quality schools, and there has been a problem of keeping up the standard in some of them. And some might argue that it has been a bit commercialized for which is okay in some areas, but might not be the best when you're working with really young children.
I think what I saw, and I have visited a couple of times Sweden, the education in free schools, some of the free schools, as you said, have, number one is facility issue, that they don't have proper facilities for pupils. And the second issue which I've seen is that a lot of big players have come in and they have invested to make profit.
Yeah.
So I think the basic principle, in my opinion, has shifted from education to profit making. Do you think it is true?
That has happened for sure. And when this experiment started, it was about getting a broader perspective on different methods of working, different pedagogical methods and stuff like that. And now it's been more streamlined, more, like I said, big companies seeing a way for an easy buck, and that of course is not all for the good.
Britain is trying to do the same experiment here. And although we are not opposed to it, as you said, because it has got good factors, and the grammar schools in England in past have been very successful, but we are worried that it will bring in two-tier system. Do you think that is true comment?
I would share the worries. And I think there's some lessons to be learned from the Swedish experience. Also, I think you should look at what Norway has done and how they had tried to handle some of the problems. And I know some of the big Swedish school companies, they left Norway because they couldn't make a profit because they were too hard on their demands on the schools, saying you need to have this, you need to have this, you need to have high quality in this. So there is I would say there are ways to make the system work. And there are reasons to be aware of the problems.
As a senior leader of Social Democrat Party in Sweden, which has almost through democracy ruled the country for many decades, in last 3 decades, since 1973, you have lost 3 elections. And what do you think, what is the reason? Is there any particular reason, or people are shifting in their politics, or what do you think?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, but Sweden, as the Scandinavian countries are in a sense very much social democratic countries, and what the conservatives in Sweden has done is well, they learned from Tony Blair to behave to change the image of the party, and claiming they are actually a social democratic party. So they have changed much of their image and some of the politics to be electable, and that's how they won this last election, I would say. And they, like, I think it was the chairman of the conservative youth organization who said that Sweden now has 7 social democratic parties, because he was kind of annoyed with his own party making themselves look like social democratic party. And then the conservatives, they even used the term Labour Party when they spoke of themselves. So they they have repositioned themselves, like I said, a bit like Tony Blair did with Labour to make Labour electable in 97. And some people say that he even copied some of Tony Blair's speeches. Which is a strange thing to do for a conservative, one might say.
Yeah, and where Socialist Democrat Party stand on international issues like Palestine and other issues which are disputed in many countries. We don't live anymore in a very isolation. You are part of EU, you are part of European Union, and how you see these issues, how should we move forward? You are an important part of United Nations, and I think you are being part of peace force, if not fighting force in many countries and internationally. How you see we are moving forward? Are we going on the right direction, or should we change the direction? What do you think?
Oh, that's an easy question. Well, but there are some things that worry me about Sweden's stance in international politics. I think that we are turning more and more mainstream. We have a history since the 70s, at least, to try to be a strong, independent voice for the poor countries. When I was born, our chairman was Olof Palme, which made a very strong point of not being part of NATO, not being part of any alliance, not of course not the Warsaw Pact, but being non-allied and standing up for every land's freedom and every people's right to decide for their own. And that's how Sweden ended up supporting the PLO as one of the first countries who did that. And I think that we are step for step losing that international role Sweden had. That makes me kind of sad when I see that we join up under a NATO umbrella in Afghanistan and places like that. So I think there's should be a shift in Sweden's foreign policies to be more independent and, like I said, stand up for every nation's right to decide for themselves.
I'm very actively involved in Third World Solidarity, and with Third World Solidarity I'm actively involved with Labour Party. What do you think on international issues we can learn from each other, and how should we cooperate with each other?
We should cooperate more. That should be the main thing. We always learn from each other. We have been working a couple of times within the Socialist International and the Youth Socialist International, and you always tend to learn things you didn't know you needed to learn when you meet with people from other countries. So that we definitely need more of those arenas for international cooperation.
We live in a very changed world in 21st century. After 9/11, the world is changed for worse, in my opinion, not for better, because now human rights issues have become subsidies, not the main one. Now the security has become the main one. Do you think we can change it, and we should work toward changing it and coming back to that human values which we worked for centuries and we achieved it? And do you think there is a room for improvement in those values, not reversing them?
Yes, there is definitely room for improvement. I think one of the girls from the massacre in Norway said something like, imagine if one man can do all this out of hate, imagine what we can do if we all do things out of love. So I think you need to change the perspective, and like you said, we're moving in the wrong way, and we can't let it just happen. We need to fight these things with more openness and more democracy, not by closing borders and having higher security.
Thank you very much, Roger, and have a successful visit to London, and I hope we will keep in touch.
I have a small question as well. There must be private institutions in Sweden as well. How many students you are attracting from South Asia? Does many people come there for studies?
Well, the sad thing is that we've had the same. I understand that you've had a problem with your government shutting down the possibilities for overseas students coming here because they are afraid that people who are well educated are staying here. Sounds not like a big problem to me, but the Swedish Conservative government did the same thing just a year ago, but their argument was opposite. They said, well, not enough of the students that come from Asia or abroad stay in Sweden. They just come here, they get the education, and they go back home.
Okay.
And then they cut the grants for overseas studies.
That's fine.
So they did the same thing as the British government, and they just motivated it from a different perspective. In the end, it turned out the same way. So we've seen a dramatic loss in international students in Sweden, I'm afraid.
Okay. So you've been to many private colleges. How did you find our college?
Well, it's a nice place. It's the good thing with being a bit out of the city centre is that you have more space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get better facilities.
Okay. Thank you.
Obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.